Hi, my name is Antti Kiuru. I work as the head of security assurance in the product security organization of Ericsson. Today I'm going to talk briefly about penetration testing. So, what is penetration testing? The aim of penetration testing is to expose vulnerabilities, unsafe configurations, and insecure practices that are not best practice in systems and applications. Benefits of penetration testing are usually tied in the business objective that could simply be that the less there are security issues and incidents with the systems, the better the customer satisfaction. This could lead into more business in the future. It could also be considered as an investment and a part of quality control of the things that companies are releasing to the market. It's also very interesting and technically challenging and might be a thing for you if you are interested in hacking in general. There are different ways of doing testing, white box and black box testing. With white box testing, you basically have access to technical documentation, accounts, possibly source code, and other things you might meet during testing. Black box testing is done in a real attack kind of testing way, so that the one who is doing the testing doesn't have information at hand before. In black box testing, you will need to rely on the information that you can gather from the target system and use it to gain access to other systems by moving laterally inside the systems or so. Gray box testing, on the other hand, means that you might have some information on the target system, but you have to access it from external point of view. With black box testing, one might even need to identify assets via network, wireless connections, sometimes doing physical testing, including tailgating and so on. What penetration testing is not, is that it's not red teaming. I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. There are different things you can perform penetration testing on. Web applications, meaning software that you can use through a browser for an example. The front end is usually connected to a bunch of other systems in the background, like databases and application servers and so on, so that it's more than just testing a web page. Network devices like firewalls, access points, IoT devices, routers, and so on. Pen testing of mobile device software aims to see if the security of the local application on the laptop, phone, or other device can be breached and additional access or information can be obtained that way, possibly leading into an unauthorized access to the backend. Physical penetration testing is something that aims to test the security controls of a physical environment, like access control to building and so on. This is what a typical penetration test might look like. Scoping the penetration test is defining the scope and possibly limiting something out of it, like third-party supplied or hosted systems. Then you would recon the systems by scanning the target addresses or system, finding more information about the connected hosts and open network ports. Then you would assess the discovered vulnerabilities pretty much in the same way how we would do it with a vulnerability assessment. With the list of vulnerabilities at hand, you would create a plan to exploit the vulnerabilities that you might think would provide more access to the system and see how far you can go within the scope. After that, you would analyze the findings and lastly write a report on the penetration test and maybe a PowerPoint to go with that. You would present that to a customer or the product team. So, as mentioned before, penetration testing is not red teaming as such. They are different concepts. Red teaming, however, is a different ballgame, where an internal resource, be it consultants or internal employees, sets a target based on hypotheses and executes an attack based on the knowledge they can gather in a similar kind of way the black box tests are done. Red team testing also differentiates itself from penetration testing by the way the testing is executed and what the results should be. Red teamers aim to be undetected because the whole idea of the testing is to test the detection and response capabilities and processes, thus improving the security of the organization. On the ethical code, keep the stuff to yourself and treat information as confidential. Confidentiality is everything. You're dealing with information that could potentially jeopardize the private information of people using a production version of the system somewhere. If the information was leaked, it could attract online criminals and script kiddies, or in worst case, nation-state actors. It could lead into locking up the system with ransomware or into a state where the integrity of the information could no longer be trusted. There are also some other things to take into account. Always make sure that people responsible for the system administration and maintenance and your company's IT security people are aware of testing that is going on. It applies to you whether you're a consultant or an internal employee. If you're doing this for a profession, you'll likely end up in a situation at some point, more than once or twice, where someone is very, very upset that you have broken into the system and caused some issues somewhere. Making sure that the right people know about it is an efficient way to mitigate this kind of situation beforehand. The systems that are under a pen test might be a production or development system that should not be broken. It is therefore important to understand the consequences of the actions you're going to take when inside the target systems. So what does it take to become a pen tester? Depending on the organizations, the pen test might vary quite a lot in their focus and scope. Target technologies are constantly developing. Some of the big changes during my career has been the shift from using virtualized hosts and cloud instead of physical hosts, then moving on to microservices and Kubernetes, for example. You can utilize free or low-cost resources on the internet like Hack the Box and Pentest Labs. There's a lot of information available on software vulnerabilities from conferences like Chaos Computer Congress and DEF CON, just to name a few. You should familiarize yourself with tools that are available, and in this profession, open source software is widely used. Commercial software is used if it's available and if it could result into a more efficient way of working, meaning that it is saving time. Generally, you will want to choose the tools that fit the project in the best way. If you're doing pen testing for big companies, you might be exposed to a lot of technologies and might need to find the right kind of tools to test them or build some by yourself. Software development background is a bonus, but so is system administration background and knowledge of different technologies, both server and network side. Experience in various technologies, many of the things you learn by doing. And thank you for following. I hope this was useful and interesting to you.